After we define the business cycle and discuss the Oken's law in the previous video, here let's talk about the AD and AS model. This is a model through which we can formally and rigorously discuss the causes and the effects of short-run economic fluctuations. Okay. Now let's check it out. AD stands for aggregate demand. Okay. Aggregate here means gross, total. Okay, so we look at the nation as a whole. Okay, the total demand for all goods and services. All right. Now, aggregate demand, it's just like the demand curve we learned in the intro class, which shows the relationship between the price and quantity. Okay. Now here, the quantity would be quantity of output or all goods and services demanded. Okay, and the price would be the overall price level. Okay, in other words, we're not narrowly focusing on one market or one product. Instead, we look at the nation as a whole, all goods and services. Okay, their quantity and the price. Okay, so here you could guess that the overall price level should be approximated by GDP deflator. Okay, because we talk about all goods and services. But under some circumstances, you would find that people also use the CPI as an approximation. Okay? Now, we all know that the regular demand curve slopes downward, right? Does the AD aggregate demand slopes downward too? That's what we need to figure out. Okay. Now, to be able to do that, let's recall why a regular or individual demand curve slopes downward. Okay. Now here, let's use a graph to explain that. Okay. Suppose we arbitrarily pick 2 points A and B along with this downward sloping demand curve. Okay. And then when we move from A to B, okay, along the curve, we would find that is caused by a decrease in price, right, from PA to PB. Okay, and because the product now becomes cheaper, so we find people are willing and able to buy more of it. So the quantity demanded goes up from QA to QB. Okay. In intermediate micro, you should already know that the downward sloping demand curve is actually driven by 2 effects. It's called the substitution effect and the income effect. Okay, substitution effect means because the price of this product becomes lower, so some people would quit purchasing other things, especially the substitutes, and start buying this product. Okay, for example, when we say that this is a market for MacBook, okay, or a smartphone, okay, let's say iPhone 12, for example. Okay, so when the price is lower, okay, and you would find that some people would quit purchasing Samsung smartphones or other ones like Google, okay, Pixel. They will stop purchasing the substitutes and buy more of iPhone 12. Okay, so that's substitution effect. Another effect is the income effect. So when iPhone 12 becomes cheaper, even though it's just one good in the fixed market basket, okay, or all goods and services around us, but this decrease in the price of iPhone would make dollars in our pockets more, has more purchasing power, okay, more powerful. So our real income actually would be higher, okay? And of course, how much higher depends upon how expensive this product is and how much we actually spend on this product, right? And so here, this downward sloping is actually caused by these two effects. Then naturally, we would like to believe that the aggregate demand curve slopes downward because of the same two effects, okay, substitution and income effects. Now let's think about this substitution effects. Here, when the price goes down from P1 to P2, we got to remember here on the vertical axis, this is the overall price level, okay? In other words, this decrease in the price is not happening to just one product. It actually happens the economy-wide, okay? All goods and services become proportionally cheaper, okay? So people won't substitute other things for the iPhone 12 or vice versa, okay? And the income effect here, again, when we say the overall price level, it could include the input prices like wage rate, okay? So for example, when you wake up in the morning and find that Apple cut the price of iPhone 12 by 50%, let's see, you should not really be happy with that, because later you would realize that your paycheck has already been cut by 50% as well. Okay? In other words, your wage will go down proportionally as the average prices of all other goods and services you would purchase. Okay? So you find here we won't have the substitution effect. We won't have the income effect either. Then how could we make sense of this downward sloping aggregate demand curve? Okay? There are multiple ways we can do this, but here let's just pick the simplest way, which is built upon something we learned before. It's called the quantity equation of money. Okay? Back in chapter 5, I believe, we talk about how much money we actually need to facilitate the transaction of all goods and services we produced, right? We use the quantity equation of money. Here, let's take a look at this. The quantity equation of money says the nominal value of goods and services, which is P times Y. So P is the overall price level, and Y is the real output, okay, or GDP. So when P times Q, this is a nominal GDP on the left-hand side, which equals the nominal value of our money, okay? M stands for money supply. V is the velocity of money, okay? So M times V, that means the total amount of dollars or money circulating in our economy, okay, which equals the nominal value of what we produce, okay? Now here, if we assume that V, the velocity of money, and M, the money supply, are both given or fixed, okay, then on the left-hand side, it's just P times Y, right? Here, remember, we said that the overall price level declines. In other words, P gets smaller. What happens to Y? All right? Remember, because the right-hand side is all given, so the P times Y is a constant. It's given, right? with a lower P, the only way the two sides of this equation would still held equal is to have a greater Y, right? In other words, when the overall price level gets lower, the output of goods and services should be higher, okay? So that, again, eventually P times Y stays constant, okay? So this is why, when we look at the AD, we believe it still slopes downward, okay? Now, the key here is to remember the difference between an individual demand curve and an AD, okay? Individual, why they slopes downward, the reason is different, okay? And you would find the substitution in income effects when we look at the individual demand curve, but you won't find the same effects for aggregate demand, okay? All right, on the next video, we're gonna continue our discussion about the upward sloping AS curve, aggregate supply.